Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Russell and thank you very much for joining me. Now this is a wide field telescope. It's the Askar 400 with a focal length of 400 millimeters. But even at 400 millimeters, I can't fit the region of sky that I want to photograph into a single frame. So join me tonight while I photograph my first ever deep space mosaic image. And I take you through how I plan that image, how I capture the data, and then how I process the final image. So the first thing that I need to do in order to create this mosaic is actually plan it. And to do that, I've jumped into Telescopius, which I use all of the time. It's a fantastic website. In here, you'll see I've input all of my details. So I've got the focal length of my telescope, and I have the sensor size of my camera, which is the ASI2600MC Pro. And this is what it would look like if I just tried to take an image of the Horsehead Nebula. And as you can see, I can just about fit in the Orion Nebula as well. So I can't fit them both in frame at this focal length. So what I need to do is to create a mosaic. And they have a very handy tool here called Mosaic. So if I change it from 1:1 to a 2:2 image, you'll see that I'm starting to get a wide enough field of view where I can almost fit these two targets in frame. Now I can't get them both in with this orientation of the camera, so the next thing I need to do is rotate the camera. And if I rotate my camera 90 degrees, as you can see here, I can fit both of these targets in frame. Now, one thing I need to be really careful of and making sure I get spot on is the rotation. So unfortunately my telescope doesn't have any markings on the rotator, but I will have to just eyeball that and hopefully I get it close enough. So these are this is what hopefully the final image is going to look like. Within the mosaic settings, you also have this tolerance or the overlap here. So you can make that bigger or smaller. I'm going to keep it at around 15% because I want to make sure that I'm overlapping each of these images so that when I do stitch them together in post-processing, I shouldn't have too much of an issue. So this is what I want my final image to look like. So what is really good about this website as well is that I can actually now copy these coordinates, so the coordinates for each of these panels, onto my clipboard, and then I can paste them into the plan setting of the AsiAir Pro. Now you can do the same with other pieces of software. So if you use Nina, you can do that. If you use Astro Mosaic, you can do that. And if you use the AsiAir Pro, you can also do that, or the newer AsiAir Plus. So I've copied, this is what I'm happy with. I'm framing my images this way. I've copied those coordinates. I should now be able to paste them into the plan setting of the AsiAir Pro and then let the AsiAir take images of each of these four panels. I'm going to go for about an hour and a half on each panel because I think I've only got about 6 hours where I can see Orion from my back garden, and hopefully it all goes according to plan. This is the first time doing it, so it might be a bit of a learning curve, but this is how I'm planning it out. Okay, so as you've just seen from that time lapse, I've had to move my mount from the patio area just outside my house all the way down to the bottom of the garden on these two very wobbly wooden planks. And the reason I've had to do that is because my garden is north facing us and Orion is in the south. So if I stay down that end, it is obscured by my house. So what I need to do is move the mount down here, point back towards the south, and about 8:30 at night Orion will just pop up behind my neighbour's house. It will stay up, go across to the top of my house, stay up most of the night, and then set behind my neighbour's tree about 2:30 in the morning. So I should have about 6 hours worth of time on this target. Now I'm going to split that between the four quadrants of my mosaic, and hopefully I can get about an hour and a half on each. So yeah, I've all set up now. I just need to wait for it to get dark and start collecting some data on the Orion and the Horsehead Nebula. Quite excited to see how this mosaic pans out. Okay, so I'm all set up and I've just polar aligned the scope, and in about 10-15 minutes it should be dark enough to image, but that leaves me about 3 hours to wait before the Orion Nebula and the Horsehead Nebula just appear behind my neighbour's house. So what I'm planning to do is slew over to the Triangulum galaxy and capture a few hours of data on that with the one-shot colour camera. No mosaics needed, it should fit in frame quite nicely. So if I do get an image and if it turns out okay, I'll put it up on screen and show you how that looks. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours and I've captured 30 5-minute subs on the Triangulum galaxy, and now I think Orion is just about high enough in the sky to slew over to that and start my mosaic. So I'm just going to record my screen and show you how I set that up in the AsiAir Pro. Okay, so here you can see the Triangulum galaxy that I've been capturing. Hopefully that turns out okay. I will show you it if it does. So what I need to do now is hit the plan button and then create a new plan. So this is what it pops up with. If I tap in the top right, I can add a new plan. So if I give it a plan name, okay, so now what I need to do, instead of hitting the add button, I need to import the coordinates that I got earlier from Telescopius. So I've copied and pasted this to the clipboard already. So I'm just going to paste the coordinates here and then import that plan. And it doesn't really look like much has happened, but what I need to do now is add in the exposure times that I want to capture. So I'm going to go for 5-minute subs. I'm going to go for 18, so that's an hour and a half on each. Hopefully that will be okay. I'm going to keep it at binning of 1, and that's all I need to do. So then when I hit the back button, I will apply those settings to sequence, and you'll see the sequence, so pane 1, pane 2, 3 and 4. I'm going to delete the center sequence because I don't want to capture any on the center of the panel. And then that's kind of all I need to do to set up, I think. So if you click into the details, you'll see there's 18 subs, 300 seconds each on pane 1, exactly the same on pane 2 and 3, etc. So now all I need to do is slew over, hit the start button, and the telescope should slew to the object. I can sort out the guiding, and then I can start to capture my first mosaic. So I'm not sure how well it's going to go. Hopefully I've left enough leeway over the edges of each of the panes, but I will show you at the end of the video. Okay, so I'm really pleased to say that the plan mode in the AsiAir Pro worked really well, and I managed to capture data on each of my 4 panes, and they do line up really nicely. So when you open them up in Pixinsight, you can see the overlay of the stars look really good, and hopefully this will stitch together really well. So you probably saw from the last time lapse that I didn't manage to capture all of the data on one night. I did have more cloud than anticipated, so this is taken over 2 nights, and I also made the quick decision to drop in a dual narrowband filter. So I saw the first few subs of the Horsehead Nebula pop up and I wasn't really happy with them. I didn't see a lot of detail in there, so I picked up a dual narrowband filter, the L-Extreme, a couple of months ago on Facebook Marketplace, and I haven't got around to using it yet. So this is the first time trying that out. So first time using this filter, first time using the plan mode on the AsiAir. But yeah, as you can see, this is pane 1. This is pane 2, the Orion Nebula. Pane 3 is the Horsehead, and it lines up quite well, or it lines up really well. And then this is pane 4 just below the Orion. So I'm hoping these stitch well. Once I've worked out how to do that, and once I've edited this final image, I will show you what I did, and I'll show you the final image in a second. Okay, so after a lot of trial and error, I have managed to join the 4 panes together in one larger mosaic image, which I'm really happy about. I did watch multiple tutorials on YouTube, and none of them seemed to work. I was left with that join. I even downloaded a program called Image Composite Editor, which is a Windows piece of software, which lots of people recommended. But when I looked closely, I could always see the join in the image. So I'm really pleased with how this has actually turned out. I settled on a method which I found on a thread on cloudy nights, and no matter how close I look at this image, I can't see a join anywhere. So I'm really happy with this. I'm actually going to put together a quick video going over how I combine these into the mosaic, and I should be able to release that next week. So please make sure you check out my channel next week if you want to see how I actually join these together. But the good news is I managed to capture the data well using the plan mode, and I managed to join them together into one image, larger mosaic image. So that's the good news. The bad news is I did blow out the core in Orion, which I'm really frustrated about. I've shot Orion quite a few times before, and every time I have taken shorter exposures for the core, and for some reason, just an oversight on my account, I forgot to plan in the shorter exposures. So Orion's core has been blown out, which is really unfortunate, and I think detracts from the image quite a bit. I'm planning to go back in next clear night to capture some shorter exposures, and hopefully I can then re-edit this image and have something better to show you. So anyway, this is the mosaic. So this is just the 4 panes combined as a mosaic and then stretched. I tried to edit this and I wasn't overly happy with how it was going. I thought there was more detail in the image than I was able to pull out. So what I decided to do was split the channels, and as soon as I did that, I could see that there was a huge amount of detail in the red channel. So what I decided to do was recombine or split the channels, use the red channel as a luminance layer, and then combine it in LRGB. So the red is obviously a lot of the hydrogen alpha data that you get from that dual narrowband filter. So I decided to use that as a luminance layer. And when I did that, this is what happened. So this was how I combined it using the LRGB combination. You got the luminance, which was the red, green and blue. And I think it looks quite nice. Less color, but a lot more detail in there. So I spent a while trying to edit this, and I managed to pull an image together, but I'm not overly happy with this image. I definitely went too far with Orion, added too much sharpness to Orion to try and bring back some of that detail. The horsehead looks okay, but there was just something about the image which I wasn't really liking, and no matter how I edited it, I couldn't get it to look right. So instead of going down the RGB route, I decided to go for more of a false color image. So I'm using a dual narrowband filter, so I thought I'd try and combine it in more of a SHO palette. So I mapped the red to the sulfur channel, I mapped the green to the HA, and I mapped the blue to the oxygen channel. Now when I combined it, I used Pixel Math and I did a combination of sulfur and HA for the green channel. And I quite like the final image. I think it's a bit different. So the colors aren't what you would expect to see for these targets, but I think it brings out quite a lot of the detail, especially in some of the dust lanes around Orion. I think the Horsehead Nebula looks quite good when you zoom in. There's quite a lot of detail in there, which is nice. You can definitely see the Horsehead. You can see a lot of the gases around it. Orion's looking okay. Obviously, I did have to do quite a lot of recovery on the core. I used the HDR multi-scale transform tool to try and do that. But I was fairly happy with the final image. I do want to go back and reshoot the core. I think it looks good in the starless version. Just having no stars in the image really shows off those dust lanes, and I think it looks quite nice. So yeah, that's the image that I ended up with. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Should I carry on trying to go down the LRGB route, more of a natural colour image, or should I have stick to the SHO edit, which I decided to do in the end? But yeah, I will show this, the final image now full screen, so you can see it in a little bit more detail. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. I do really appreciate that. It does help the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. But yeah, here's the final image. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.